All right, it's 4:01. We'll call the meeting to order. Looks like we're all present. Can I have a motion to approve the previous month's minutes?
Okay, so approve the minutes.
You make the motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Hummel, do you have any public comments today?
No, Madam Chair, unless something comes up with new business that might be value to share.
So no public comments at this time. I guess the only thing that I would bring up is under public chairman's comments, the issue of the Ripple Creek, which actually I can do that in old business summer. Yeah. So I have no comments, and I'll make a motion to go into closed session, deliberating or negotiating for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specific public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. We have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I'll text you, Eric.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You bet. Okay.
But she will make, who makes the
Here, she
motion?
can do that.
Thank you.
To move.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll make the motion then? You seem to have the language ready.
Yes. Whenever you're,
Sorry that took so long.
No, that's all right.
do it slowly, please.
I got my mindfulness meditation in, so that's
Oh,
all.
very good.
We're sorry to interrupt that.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, so I'll make a motion to move the agreed upon prices, the agreed upon price for 231 Market Avenue to the next village board meeting.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and then I'll make another motion to move the agreed upon price for 241 Market Avenue to the village board.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we have 140 Market Avenue, so I will make the motion to have the listing, the price for Mission Coffee at $100,000. And then offer the 4,000 in grants and 50,000 in the loan.
Both of which are the tip.
Anybody got a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Discussion and possible motion to consider changes to the pool filling fees. So the current policy on the pool filling. And guys, I'm really sorry, it's gonna take time for me to get used to, not having class prepping stuff, but I should have forwarded this to you. So Jason had brought this up to Caleb. And it actually would be our committee that would be discussed. And let me try to pull up Jason's.
And you're finding that, it's my understanding that fulfilling by the fire department, would that fall under sort of a concierge type service? Because,
There's a lot of rural communities that do that now.
okay,
Beer and.
Buren, Vesper, Rudolph, they all kind of do, it's kind of just a perk, but you have to pay for it,
yeah,
right? So,
Let's see. Eric, if you have your email, I'm gonna send this to you since we don't have it printed.
I do.
All right.
Thank you.
So this is I sent the communication to you, the summary of it. The charge for pool filling is $250. On the website, it says one trip in parentheses. So when I looked at Vesper, and did you say you looked at Rudolph?
I called Rudolph, and and I didn't get an answer, but talking with people I know out there, it seems to be their location from how many, like the mileage trip and then the cost of water. So they must have a formula filled out.
so a standard size above is 14,000 gallons, and our largest truck holds 2,000. So 7 truckloads of water times 250 equals 1,700, 1,750,
Nobody's filling it.
which is an outrageous bill for delivering water. So I'm assuming we mean to charge 250 to fill the whole pool.
So. Pull up Vesper's.
That's on a sticky note at home. Forgot that on my desk.
Vesper Fire Department is.
Fire coverage here.
Where did that go? Vesper Fire Department is 2,000, their tankers are 2,000 gallons, so like ours. And it's $100 for the first load and 75 after, for each load after.
Originally, when this got brought up, and I remember it very vaguely, and I couldn't find my notes or anything on it, so it's a while ago now. It was supposed to cover the cost of the water to firefighters at $34 per call, which is a 2-hour span really, and it doesn't take 2 hours to fill up a pool necessarily unless you're really hiking. And then the use of the fire truck, so like a rental fee. I think that's how this, why it got so high, I guess. I can't speak for the numbers, but when I asked Diane about this yesterday, because I said, well, how much is 2,000 gallons of water, right? Just trying to figure this out in my head. It's $3.50 for $2,000 for 2,000 gallons of water.
So an 8x4 pool would cost about $13 worth of water to
Right.
fill up.
Right, and I understand adding the time for the guys to go
What would it be with
fill it up,
2,000?
but,
So we did,
It's an 18x4 pool, so I don't know how many gallons that is.
I don't
have the
think there is a
conversion.
standard size, so to speak.
No,
I mean,
And-
I have 2 different size pools in my yard right now.
so
so, but the one he gave, the example he gave, which I'm guessing is what happened last week? Is that the example that happened?
It was some weeks ago, I think.
And you said it was how much for? Like
Three
per
dollars
gallon?
and 50 cents per 2,000 gallons.
So the price of the water is really kind of irrelevant.
It's very minimal. Put it
Well,
that way,
okay, so
which
first
fine.
question is, does the fire department want to continue doing this? I mean, do you know what I'm
I would
saying?
assume-
Like,
I would assume that they would if Jason's gonna. I mean, I
if
don't
he's
wanna put,
digging in, yeah.
right, I don't wanna put words
Okay.
in his mouth by any means, but
Mhm.
that wasn't the email that I received, cause he forwarded it to me too, you know. I would think if he really didn't wanna do it, he'd be like, hey, we don't wanna do this, but that's not the consensus I got out of his email. We can always ask just to be sure, and, you know, obviously, we're at the end of summer right now, so.
Or
there's not
just
even-
leave it open to, if there's people available, we're happy to do it. If there's people that want to do it, and if not, we can't.
Okay,
We're not like locked in.
don't have to do it, okay.
Can I make a comment? Where I read that, is it somebody that's not in?
It
Village.
sounds like it's somebody
that's
that
not in
belongs to one of the
village quarter,
HOAs.
But it says they're not.
Not yet.
Currently in there, so. Why would you do that?
Some municipalities do their fire district, like, so where they do coverage.
That's what
So-
ours is.
Right,
That's what he said, I thought.
Pool filling in the fire coverage areas?
Yeah, so he's asking, does that include, I mean, Pittsville was a fire coverage area for us, cause we have mutual aid, right?
Well, no, it's not our area. That would be where we provide mutual aid, but we don't have a fire contract to cover them. They have their own,
So what's the fire coverage area? Just part
where
of
we
the
would
village?
have the village,
And the-
including the other side of the river, and which ones do we have contracts with? Town of Port,
so for
Cranmore,
Cranmore,
No.
No, not Saratoga, Seneca.
maybe. So it would be the village, if we worded it that way. I don't know if we really want to
I think it
have
should
where
be
we're,
village,
period.
village. Cause I mean, if you're gonna hike stuff all the way out to Cranmore, that's, or unless we charge more for it, right?
Maybe
Like
there
the
should be a
village should
separate
have,
fee.
right, I'm thinking the village should have one fee, and then if you're in the fire district,
It's a higher fee.
it's a higher fee. Cause I think that was,
So I think
I think that was Vespers, it was like an
250 is
additional
a good
$25.
deal if they're 10 miles
something.
away. So
Right,
if they're outside the village, but in our fire coverage. And we can keep that 250.
So we have our village home area that, like, the other side of the river, I think they're still part of the village.
Yeah.
So I think that we provide it to them, but I would say wherever we have fire contracts, if we clarify it that way, that for a different fee we provide to them, like,
See, I think across the river might need a higher charge because that's gonna be more truckloads coming back because they don't have fire hydrants over there. So then they're gonna have to travel all the way back here. You know, back and forth that way. I mean, minimal. I'm not saying completely.
I don't see them as
Skyrocket.
a higher risk for it to happen like often per se. I think it would be a unique scenario. But I think that that's one of those things, especially especially with the other issues. I mean, they're part of the village.
Right, but it's a significant, like most, everybody in the village right now has got a fire hydrant within close proximity. Where you might not even need a truck, like we didn't use the truck, we just used the hydrant. So that's an option versus you're gonna have to drive all the way there, dump the 2,000 gallons. Come all the way back across town. Get a hydrant, fill the truck back up, go, I mean, that's gonna take a couple times.
Like, does anyone else feel like 250 in the village is not a great deal?
No,
It's not.
it's
That's
incredibly
crazy.
So I
high.
think even regardless of,
Right,
we need to, I think that what Vespers 100 and then
$100 and
75 for.
So arguing it both ways with Nepco Lake is that they're in the village. On the one hand, it should have the same price, but they can technically be just as far away mileage wise as anyone in the fire district outside the village. And so, and then it could be argued, then why do I get it? Just because I'm the same distance away, but I'm not in.
right, I mean,
Because
it's
you're a
not,
taxpayer for us.
Well, I'm just,
Yeah, yeah.
for the sake of the
So,
argument,
per
yeah.
fire call, they, I believe, and again. I should have asked Jason this, per fire call is $34 for a 2-hour span. I mean, it's not gonna take 2 hours here
Per firefighter.
per firefighter, correct? But I mean, if you're hauling that water back and forth, it could take a while
It's 34 per firefighter.
for a 2-hour span. Like, that's what they consider like a fire is 2 hours.
Do we wanna change it to say, for village residents, the cost of water and the cost of labor?
Well, where does the extra money go? Does it go to the fire department?
I think it just goes on general.
General revenue.
I mean, again, it's a perk. I don't have a problem with a little bit of an upcharge. Cause a person could just take a hose and it'll take forever, but you could fill it that way, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So like,
Right.
don't
I mean,
mind
it's a perk
100.
because I mean, your pool's filled in 20 minutes. I mean, give or take, but,
right.
Right.
And at this point in time, Nemco doesn't have any, like, at some point, is there going to be storage of fire trucks out there?
that was in the original agreement was to have a building out there and all
Right.
that, but
And right now, I know we're not there, but like, if we got there, you know what I mean, like the Nepco thing.
then we can change this if and when that happens. Sure.
Just another point of clarification. This reads, this person is making a request, they're not in the Netco Lake development. They're right outside the Netco Lake development, so this doesn't have anything to do with Netco Lake people.
Right, but it, for the-
Right, it's just
for the
still a
point of the
discussion.
conversation
Yeah,
for
it's the point of
developing a
conversation.
policy, yeah.
So even though, if it was a flat rate, there's so many different types and sizes of pools, but does the sizes really make that much of a difference with the cost of water?
If they're having to get it from a tanker, it's gonna be an issue of more time, more,
What Ben had told me yesterday was if they're here with a fire hydrant, he's got a meter that you can put on there and then you can just see what that cost is.
So it would be, if it was by labor, it would be higher.
So it's 34. So just, so let's say 2 firefighters and then,
I mean, they wouldn't send more than that, there'd be no reason, right? Like.
right,
we
I
only
mean,
need
one is
4.
like to turn it on, one's.
Right, I'm just saying, like, we
Right.
only need 4 dudes to go out there and.
So really
Pump a
34,
pool.
so $68 just for the labor and then per you need to do per truckload or per, if they have the meter, then it's just you're only charging for their water, then
I kind of like the $100 base.
I think it's pretty,
And then add on for additional truckloads.
75?
I think 75 is high.
50.
Because you're not, I mean, truckload, if you're here, you're not, it's not gonna take on. It's not as far away, right? And then that $34 covers technically 2 hours worth of work. And that could be the driving back and forth, filling it, however they deem fit.
I mean, what's the big, so 2,000 gallons the tanker holds, what's like the biggest pool that people buy
Well, he had,
reasonably?
oh, what did he say? Was this, a standard size above ground pool holds 14,000 gallons of water? Did he not say down
But
here?
that's, there is no standard.
Yeah, I mean,
But that's like
That's-
7 trips there. I mean, you know, if you're talking about someone out, you know, to our farthest reaches that we cover, like.
right, that's why I think there's
That's a
village
long
proper and
time.
then there is Nepco Lake. I think
Right.
there's gotta be almost a different.
So when they're in the village on this side of the river, do they just tap into a hydrant?
They can, depending on where the hydrant is compared to where the house is.
Or they will just bring,
A truck, right?
So do you wanna do 100 and then 50 for every additional? Let's say 7 trips out to Nepco,
that's 400.
plus filling that, I don't know how long it takes to fill a tanker and then get out there and unload it. You know what I mean? I feel like we don't
Yeah.
necessarily have all the information, because I don't wanna short us either, right? Like,
That's
we,
400 for that scenario, 7 truckloads, just by the $150.
I mean, does that get done? How many hours do you think that takes? That's what I mean. I have no idea how long it
Yeah.
takes to fill up a tanker truck, drive out there and empty a tanker truck.
Unless, do we just leave it to village proper?
Well, let's say they go beyond their 2 hours, okay? I mean, they're not gonna go beyond 4 hours. That, right? Like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I
Do
don't
you know how
think
long it
so.
takes to fill a tanker truck? I
Yeah, I
have
don't
No,
no
it takes-
idea.
the field truck takes about 15 to 18 minutes to drive one way.
Mhm.
Okay.
Unless we just, unless we just do village proper. Not that I think that's the ideal thing, but unless somebody really wants to spend $500 to fill up their pool. I'm not one
I
person.
wonder if Rapids offers the service.
I think when we lived in Rapids, it was, you called them and said, hey, I'm filling up a pool, and you stuck your hose in there, and then they gave you a discounted. Whatever that was, a certain amount of time and all that to fill up your pool.
Is it always, and it's always the firemen that are doing this, right? I suppose if they're driving the tanker truck, but even like your scenario, when they said they're just using the hydrant, it's always the fireman that's gotta come in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because you need a special kind of hose
right.
that's in the fire station, so it's not like you can just.
Well, I was just thinking like village crew, but really like
Yeah.
Ben is on the fire department, so I guess it's a moot
Yeah.
point. Okay,
I'm uncomfortable with just doing like what village proper, so to speak. I think it's not. I think that we're gonna have to just be careful how we proceed in an inclusionary way. I think it might be,
I agree. I don't like the village proper idea either, but again, that's where you can say multiple trips means more dollars, you know,
And
and
then it's up to them.
well, then it would be, if you're accessible by fire hydrant. It's this price, just the price of water and what, $100? If
Mhm.
you're not accessible, if anybody, because there are people in the village that are not fire
I mean,
hydrant.
You'd have to like really go through a lot of yards to.
Mhm. So there are people that would not be accessible
But
to a
even-
fire hydrant. So if you're accessible, $100.
yeah,
If not, $100 and how much per trip?
I think anything beyond 1 is the 50, right? Cause say you have to send 2 firefighters, like, that's what we're talking about, right? Payment for 2 firefighters for the 2 hours, $68, but even if it takes them 10 minutes. They're getting paid the $68, right? So we wanna make sure that's covered, plus cost of water, which is pretty cheap, but that's why I think like starting at that 100 is okay.
Yeah.
And then just $50 after for every truckload.
So if we worded it that way, it wouldn't feel so exclusionary, like,
Right,
because there are people in the village.
right. There are some people that aren't gonna be able to hook up to hydrant, and that's just that.
Right.
But I will say, people who have a hydrant on their property have an extra tax for the hydrant, right? So, do you know what I'm saying?
What?
If you have a hydrant on your property, there's extra tax, right?
I don't think so.
We get charged for a hydrant. I don't remember what it's called.
So like. There's your perk, maybe, I don't know.
Right.
It's not really a great perk, but it's something. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I've heard, yeah, there's a hydrant.
I mean,
That's interesting.
I mean, the other perk is you have a hydrant, and so if your house is on fire, it's just right there, but like,
do we table this till we get more of the facts and maybe get Jason's opinion
yeah,
on how long does it take a truck to fill and unload
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff?
I think
And,
we run it by.
and I'm thinking too, as with being taxpayers, is it right to then charge that labor and then the village gets it? But shouldn't that go to the fire department? So they're
It's a fair
getting,
point.
so is the fire department paying them?
Well, that would be, that
Or they
thought
say
process
that's
would
the-
be like, should, when somebody goes in and has a building permit, should that building permit money go directly towards the line item of salary for the person doing it? Or when the police give a ticket, should the revenue from that go directly back to the police? I mean, all the departments are revenue creators. So when we think of the budget lines for each department, we're considering and playing into that there's gonna be extra things that we're asking of them. So it's already included in the budget line that, you know what I mean? Like, we already include in the budget line that the police are gonna write tickets and create that revenue. We're already, you know what I mean?
How often does this happen in a summer? How many pools do they fill? 2?
I think a lot because it's so outrageous right now. For $250.
Yeah,
I mean, it's cheaper just to hook your hose up
and go.
and
So, but. Because this isn't our ordinances, all of this that we're talking about goes to back to the village itself.
Yeah.
right.
Not-
It goes into
Which
general
is
fund.
ultimately funding all of the salaries.
So like when we talked about this at a meeting, so the ambulance, like if our guys respond to the rapids
Mhm.
calls. And then we get that money back,
Mhm.
Boz talked about this, it goes into that central pot again.
The general fund, or, I mean, there's sometimes, there's extra services that the village may do. But that, it just goes into the general fund.
Right, and so we've set it up and it's okay that this is a village thing and not just a fire department policy?
That would be the village policy.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're talking about the village policy, but I guess that was what, I don't know why they don't just have their own policy with this.
Because anything charging the public, we would have to make that policy.
Okay,
Because we're funding the,
I think if all of a sudden they're filling up 100 pools in a summer, then maybe we
Then,
have a different
yeah.
discussion, right? Cause like even then,
I might
Yeah.
not wanna fill up that many.
so we're gonna,
All right, guys,
Table
I
this
think
with more
we're,
information?
beating this to death.
we're good at that. So basically 150 per every extra truck. Ask Jason if that sounds doable
Wait,
because,
say that again?
so $100 base and then any
50
for
each
extra trip would be
trip.
50 more, but we want Jason to weigh in before we make that call because we don't know how long it takes to fill it up. Empty it, whatever. So, yeah, I think it'd be good to get his opinion since he
and
knows what he's
with
talking
that,
about.
I'm confused,
I know.
what, we're talking about one type if it was hydrant filled and one type that was
I think it's
truck filled?
100 top
Yeah.
at the
And I
top.
think
of that
maybe
one.
then it's the fire department gets the discretion of how they fill it, then, whether it's truck or hydrant.
So we don't have any action on that because we're gonna wait for a little more feedback. Anybody have any old business?
You did,
What? Oh,
the apartments, Ripple Creek,
oh, thank you.
you're welcome.
So Ripple Creek. I sent you guys emails before.
Like way before?
Yep.
Yes.
And when you look at all of that, and with conversations with Nick, and let me make a note for myself, there are further emails I need to forward to you guys that were between, Buzz and this gal. Some of them had almost, like almost a threatening tone. I hate to even say that, but almost like a, if you guys don't come to this agreement to let us buy these for $4,000 something dollars, maybe we don't do the maintenance, or maybe we don't keep things the way that they could be, and then by the time you get them back, they'll have to be leveled. So I talked to Nick, forwarded those emails to him and asked him, you know, are we really okay positioned? Is this, what's our liability here? And, you know, with some of the, and I think, I mean, I think they were hypothetical communications, just trying to take the temperature. So, but that alarmed me a little bit. So the feedback that I got from him, we would have options to keep that from happening. And, so it does not appear that the scenario has changed at all, but I wanted to let you guys know that because we had talked about potentially putting it back on the agenda. So I messaged Nick and said, what do we have to be concerned with here? And it doesn't appear that there's anything new, nothing. So our decision, basically, when none of us felt comfortable bringing the motion at that meeting, we all were not good with it. So our inaction is our action. We're not interested in that at this time.
Correct. I think, and maybe I'm missing something, but, you know, I think there were two different people that came in over 2 different meetings, but to me, they were saying, we got in on this low-income housing, and now we're not making enough money, so we want you to sell it to us so we can make money and get out. And then I felt like there was a lot of blame coming towards the village, and I kind of went, ooh, but we didn't make you make that deal or get in, you know, do you know what I'm saying? So I was like, I don't know if I'm not understanding something about the initial agreement, but that's like this idea, if I go out and start a business and put in my life savings and it goes belly up, I can't come to the village and be like, I mean, I can ask and say, can you bail me out? But we'd probably go, nope, you know, because that's great. And I mean, I'm concerned about the people living there, of course, but to me, and I think that there's legislation surrounding this, but when you're in a rental agreement, there's a standard of living that has to be met, right? Like if all of a sudden it's the middle of winter and you don't have heat, they have a legal obligation to fix that.
So the thing that I would want to make sure that you guys understand, when I started reading things closer and reading the whole agreements, at the point that they'll come back to us, there's going to be no capital improvement monies. We will have the buildings, and we will have to be thoughtful ahead of time on preparing for if a furnace goes, if the roof needs to be replaced. But even still, in comparison, that's regular stuff that, I mean, that's.
But we'd sell it.
Yeah, I mean, we would likely hire a property manager to manage it for long enough for us to sell it. And even if we sold it at some kind of ridiculously low nothing price, it's still going to be multiple times more
than the nothing
return than basically nothing.
Yeah.
So we are receiving tax revenue on that. We're receiving the tax revenue of the personal property tax with the buildings that have been built there. So we're not losing out on a big amount of tax revenue. The only tax revenue we're missing out on is the tax on the actual 3 acres. That's a very small amount in comparison. And then we're receiving payments towards, there's a balloon amount, and it's all in those
Mhm.
emails that you guys had also. There's a balloon amount that they're agreed to. And there was conversation about, well, we don't have to make these payments, and that is true. They don't have to make annual payments on that. But they're paying down what the amount due at the end is. So they're not necessarily gifting us anything extra as much as paying down. So when they get to the end of the agreement, it's a smaller amount.
Okay.
So there is revenue coming from that in the personal property tax that would be comparable to if between that and what they pay annually towards paying down their balloons, so to speak. We're getting as much revenue out of that with them having it as if we're not losing any revenue by doing it this way. And in my opinion, we're preserving the opportunity to turn around and sell it.
Right.
So that's that. Anybody else, any old business? We didn't finish chapter 5.13, and I had a lengthy conversation about that with Nick, where I asked him, we were kind of, I don't know if you guys remember what I'm talking about. Let me pull up the statute.
It had to do with the, not the
audit.
fire department, but the,
Association.
thank you.
Let me pull
Good
it
memory.
up.
Binder of ordinances, some around here that he printed, okay.
No, this-
Do you have keys to this joint yet?
So it was, we didn't understand on the members may raise funds for special activities. Monies raised by the members shall be kept in a special fund and used as directed by the membership and shall be audited annually by village auditor. He more or less explained to me that that's not talking about the athletic association. He's saying if just to have it there, if they ever would, if they ever got rid of the athletic association and they were fundraising and had it in our account,
Okay.
that's what he's talking about. That's not, because
How do I make that clear on there? Do you know what I mean? So
right,
5 years from now, if none of us are on this board anymore, then the whole debate gets started again. I mean,
well,
if it's not about the
I
athletic
guess
association, then.
go ahead. After even saying that out loud to you guys, in all reality, still, why? I understand what he's saying, but that annual audit, if we're talking about that fund, that's automatically happening. So
Right,
it's
seems
still,
redundant.
it still seems like we could just kind of strike that out. So
Get rid of it.
let's, I'll confirm that with him, and then we can close up 5.13 next month.
Well, cause Scott had, chief had the, police chief, Scott, had the back the badge signs. Was that a fundraiser or was that at cost? Remember he had a whole
That
bunch of those
that wasn't the
That was the
police
Leo
department,
program.
that was the law enforcement club.
Oh, that line was from next school. Okay.
Yep. So
So
what
that was a
we
totally separate
want
thing,
to,
but
what you guys are saying that I should ask Nick, since that would be under the general village audit, can we just
get rid of it.
get rid of that part?
Yeah.
So in some ways, as it works in the church, sometimes there are different groups in the church that might have a different tax exempt. Sometimes women's groups might have their own number. And so sometimes they ask, well, do we have to have our numbers audited? And you have to ask them, are you using the church's tax exempt number? And they say, yes, like, yes, because you're all under the name of the church. So I guess it's the equivalent. We're all in the name of the village. They should all be audited, but if they're separate, then.
So then the other thing that I think of with the old business is the discussion on chapter 8 and the navigating of the road responsibility, which I don't know what it's gonna take for us. And Boss was gonna make communication with that attorney that was helping him with that. And did anything come in Boss's email?
I've not seen anything in the email. I will try to reach out tomorrow, so trying just to see if he sent it. Maybe I just missed it in the
Mm-hmm.
thousands of emails. I know he had a discussion with them, but it doesn't say what kind of specifically what he was discussing.
Right.
Like it was a
it's
discussion
very broad.
to draw up what the legal agreement would look like if we decided to take back the roads. Wasn't that it? So it wasn't that we had settled on, yes, we're doing it, but I thought Boz asked him to write up the language.
Okay, I'll look. I'll call tomorrow.
Anybody else, any other old business? Any new business? Any correspondence? Any future agenda items? So we're gonna do 5.13, right?
Yes, make a decision on 5.13. Chapter 8, if we get
Yeah.
kind of any answers on that, we can probably make a decision on that. This committee doesn't have anything to do with budget, right? We don't need to worry about anything.
Mhm. So we'll put them for future agenda items, and if you guys think of anything before we put out the draft agenda, let me know, and I'll send the draft out to you guys. Next meeting date, September 5th, 4 o'clock. Are you gonna be fine with that, Jen?
Do it next five.
Probably not, because that's the first day of school, so
Ooh,
there's no, there's
Not
no
even
way
for
I'll
me,
be here
no.
by 4. If we could do 5.
Okay. So we're gonna change that to 5 o'clock. Does anybody else have anything else? Did you have something before I had to redirect you?
No?
All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you, guys.